Okay, so back for the second half of this particular game. Let me play to continue. Now looking at it, I mean, I did get to, jam in some games, at least two halves of a game or whatever, and just to kind of see even more data on some things that need to be addressed in the game or not addressed and left, whatever it is. But like I said, I'll definitely make another video to kind of go over some things that I think, like looking at like some of these things that definitely should be locked into their own team synergy is a big must. I feel like for some of these things, it helps their team be more viable to play by themselves. So if you want to play like, you know, um, when you take a look at like Jeremy Chen or TJ Watt, Robert Quinn, and just some of those things that are like, yeah, you should keep these um to their own synergy. Also, I still think that Pro Bowl Squad and Mythology are super strong and overpowered on their own as far as like putting them against um solid synergy decks. It's just so good to have those, like their effects be just so much better. I think the fix for those also, as you can see, short pass versus run left, run middle. He got his run middle in there, so awesome, awesome job there. But if you take a look at um, Pro Bowl squad, should be you have to run all superstars. Like the requirement should just be you have to have all superstars in the deck to be able to play it, because there are some superstars that you just don't want, and then if you play that deck, you're susceptible to things like um things like preseason game and stuff like that. So you have to run clean slates in that deck, and then you don't have a way to draw because your stuff don't draw. So there's that. I mean, and then you're clogging your action deck with at least 10 players that are all superstars. So, you're gonna go, 10 superstars and then 10 really good actions. If you go that route, or even more, if you make the deck even bigger, then it just makes it harder for you to draw what you need. So I think that's a fix for Pro Bowl Squad. You can't do the same with Mythology, because you can play Mythology with all legends, and that's perfectly fine. The deck does exactly what it wants itself to do, um, and it still stays very strong. Maybe in that particular case for Mythology, you would want to go and say you can only use you can only use one or the other of its effects per, like, maybe per drive, or just say that both effects can only be used once per half, or once per half per side of the ball. Just because being able to ready all your legends, if you play all legends anyway, then you're like, okay, I'll just ready all my legends anyway. Or if I'm saying, I stop, I only gain 10 yards, which is mainly a defensive strategy. To be honest, you're never going to say like, oh, well, they push me back, I'm going to lose 10 yards on the play. So instead, I'll just use my synergy and gain 10. I never really see the offensive side move up, but it is a great defensive strategy, especially when they go like 70 yards, or, play out their speed kills, sharpen focus, or even they're like Barry Sanders, where they double their yardage, and you're like, I'm just going to have you gain 10. That's also a viable strategy. Thinking about it, that you can run Barry Sanders, get double the yardage, but then say it only gains 10 yards and get a first down. That way you keep the ball for the half. That's another strategy on it. So again, it's just too strong. So I feel like both those particular synergies are just way too strong. As you can see, we've got a score from the Buffalo Bills. Excellent job. And that's when I've actually found out, hey, I'm at 8 because I forgot that I'm an idiot and Debo Samuel's a thing. So switched out the Debo Samuel, got the 8 to 7 here. And what's awesome, well, we got about 21 minutes here, and we're going to actually see, my offense is initially get a score, and then his offense get a score. And we end up, with the Bills. I think another thing that might have been missed in this particular game, because again, it was early in 2022's release thing as far as what we were doing and how we're looking at things, is I don't know. I think the Bills have to be within 7, right? So technically it wouldn't have been active with Debo Samuel. So that was a mistake on my part. Of course, Chad Johnson, I end up looking through, seeing what I would name here, seeing what's all available. And then, to look at his hand and name a card. He discards all cards that name. And so get to take a look, see the superstar Josh Allen, sharpen focuses, and then get to see his plays, which is the big part also. Another reason why Chad Johnson is actually really strong, but of course is not real much of anything when you talk about playing against T.J. Watt. He doesn't work, and now you got T.J. Watt, and what can you do? I think that's my biggest gripe. I think for the whole game here has just been, TJ Watt is too overpowered, takes up way too much space, and then you put him, like he covers too much ground in the game, like to build around. So like if you say like, hey, you can only play like if he's attached to Steelers, then go ahead, like play the Steelers, play their strat. You don't get too many like super high powered offensive weapons or defensive weapons for that matter. You can't put them together, and I think I've played other games where they have like combination bands where you can't combine like these two cards together in the same deck. You can play the decks singly, and that's really what they did with the idea between not the Sunday and miraculous play, right? So you bring both those cards together and say, okay, well, here in this particular situation, they're both unique, and so you can't play uniques together. And in tournament mode, you can't play but one unique in the entire deck. So that means unique play, unique, not the Sunday or miraculous play. So you got to pick one within 3. And so I think for deck building strategies, putting them on the active reserve list or whatever they're going to call it, and say that okay that TJ Watt and them are on this particular list, then we can say all right, that's perfectly fine. Let's see, I think I have the info here. And size, down effects. I thought it was in the CRD. It's not. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the pup. Introducing the concept of the pup, physically unable to play list, which exempts certain cards from a given tournament format. Note, there's currently no cards on the pup list, which I think they updated that to be like Nick Sue is on the pup list, and basically has to be played with his own team's strategy. Basically considering it like a ban list, but if you talk about like making it like a reserve list where they can only be played during their team synergy, then that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't have a problem with those guys being in there. Again, it makes those particular decks viably stronger. You can talk about like the Bears the Bears synergy is actually pretty good. We saw it in the um, card of the week. So got Bears synergy saying that you can cancel an action once per half. So in something in particular, like you just get a not this Sunday, you get one not this Sunday on both for first half and second half. So that's actually really really strong. And you can play Robert Quinn. So then you can drop cards and have more, just basically more control, and kind of go from there. Um, but I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with that strategy. I'm also okay with, like, if you want to play the Panthers and get stop all runs, just means that when you come in and most of your runs are not going to be viable or play against that particular thing, then that's fine. I don't see an issue with that either. It's when you get to put all these amazing cards together that makes it I've been one for the start. I've been doing um, NFL 5 content since 2019. In fact, I built proxy decks when the game was first announced, and literally made the initial 2019 starters and cards. I went through and just went to Xerox, went to Office Max, whatever the case may be, printed them all up, and then put the game together and actually showed people the game as it was a proxies. Here's the game. We're going, playing NFL in card format. Thought it was awesome. And ever since then, like when I look at stuff, 2019, I first played the game. I played a clock management strategy to actually take double time units off the clock or multiple time units off the clock. I ran there were two guys that said you take an additional time off the clock, whether it be run or a tackle on a run or tackle on a pass. And then I ran wrap up. What was wrap up? I think is what it's called, or something with Patrick Mahomes on it. Gives you an extra time unit. Says takes an additional time unit or two more time units. And so my idea was to just try to drain the clock, get my score in first, and then kind of hold it to where they lose time or there's not enough time on the clock, which inevitably changed how the game was initially played afterwards. I mean, it's not my, like, I wouldn't say I'm directly responsible for saying, hey, let's do. It was time management that the game was taking too long from 15 one ticks every time. But that we saw the evolution of the game go to 2 ticks on the clock just to speed up the game itself. And then when that happened, of course, in 2020, I got my hands on Dominic Sue and really shed the light on what that deck was. And in 2020 format, it was Nick Dominic Sue format. And Susari was, an absolute monster, which again, I talked about in this first video, that it just changed the game. It changed the way that the game was played. You couldn't score on replay down effects. You got all these different rules changes and things just to kind of counter that strategy and get it out the way and call it what it was. And then in 2021, the synergy cards came out, the gridiron cards came out, and I went through and just said, this right here, you got like your Kelseys and your Austin Ecklers and stuff, where he's like, I'm just gonna stack the entire field with gridirons. Since gridirons don't go away, they stay in play. I was one of the ones that kind of felt like gridirons should like be played, and unless they have a static effect that happens at a specific time, that they should go away. At a certain point, even like at halftime, like they stayed in play after halftime, which was like if you took that away from halftime, I think it was one of the ideas that we brought up was like, well, you could just have them reshuffle back in and then it'd be fine. So then in 2022, you see like hallowed ground, you see Demarcus Lawrence, you see Ray Lewis, a lot of these things that just completely counter the gridiron strategy completely. And so we're seeing these evolution of certain things to really change the game based on like what's being played. Well, I honestly think that this needs to be addressed and put ahead of the table prior. Like, I don't know if there's really going to be any additional or any, for that matter at all, tournaments or anything, whether that be live or that be in TTS, whatever the case may be. If there's any tournaments for any type of prizing or anything like that, I have to say that um, we just at this point need to go ahead and be in front of the monster and say we have to, pub most of these like TJ Watt, Jeremy Chin, Robert Quinn. There's a few others like I'll talk about in the other video of possibly like Mac Jones and Josh Allen on offense. If you want to run that strat, that's fine. You're constricted to just those particular teams, which those teams find success. Don't get me wrong. Look at the Bills here. If you look at the Bills here, I mean, obviously, I'm not playing a very optimal version of some of that strategy that I was talking about, but if you look at it, they're still pretty solid. It's still a pretty solid team, and so it still could be a valuable strat for them. And so I don't see anything wrong with that. It helps help to make specific teams not only better, but keeps the teams from being outshined by things like rainbow format, honestly. And that's the biggest thing. Like when you talk about that, I think that's the biggest issue is not having them be outshined by those particular things because honestly, um, warping how you build decks around all these specific players are absolutely um super restricting. Like it's definitely hard to figure out what is what when you're dealing with all these different things, right? And I mean you can call it like, well, the super team on defense. As you see, I got in a score for Debo to put it at 16-7. And then we've got one tick on the clock. He's got three timeouts, so he can basically use his three timeouts, try and get in there and score. At this point, like I'm cool with playing through because again, even if he scores, he's not going to gain up to 16, right? He's already down, and at this point, his synergy wouldn't be active. I think we may have played it as if his synergy was active. So it is what it is. You live and you learn. You kind of go that route, and learning is all part of the process and getting better for all those particular things. So I get that. Um, you know, so when I go like again, I think in the much playtesting that's gone on that I've looked at that I've seen and said, yeah, this is definitely it's not in total it's not fun when you have to build around that. Not only just not build around that, but make it so that it's very oppressive on not only building a deck but then playing the game on top of that. So And I guess there's also a case to be made as far as like um, some like the unstoppable guys that are non-conditional. Like I said, you see Josh Allen here. He doesn't have an effect obviously because TJ Watt's on the table, but you know, it you know, it's still like it's one of those things that I think they're fine to be put on their own solid team. It's not going to hurt the game. If anything, it just kind of helps the game, helps with your strategies when it comes to like being able to build a deck and not have to worry about like is it like you can say, well, that strategy is still going to hurt me when they play like um you know all Steelers and I still have to deal with TJ Watt. Well, that's fine. In that particular case, like if you play your deck, whether that be 49ers, Colts, Lions, right, for example, and then they play the Steelers, well, okay, now you're gonna have to find an answer or play not on this field to make sure that you're um just set for those particular matchups, and that's just the way card games are when you start building. So ends up being just fine. Yeah, at least that's how I feel. So looks like he's going in for a medium pass here. He's taking his one timeout. He's gonna use him to receive or go for. I think he ends up. This looks like because he's playing first on first down, he's using. Or he's using him to receive. I think Cook's being used to receive. So, okay. And I think we're still, like I said, showing that we're using the Bills. Seems like we're using the Bills synergy card here, which would, then, yeah, and then both Sherman focuses are gone thanks to Aaron Donald. Tackle effect. So not terrible. Break it down. He's going to take another timeout. He's at 25. Fall start, I think, is another card. I'll start and draw off sides. I understand they're very needed. I understand that it's only once per possession, so there's a lot of like kind of nerfs to them. But I also feel like um, false start and draw off sides are really really strong, and the fact that they just kind of cancel out whatever was done prior technically doesn't get played. So when you talk about like not this Sunday being a card that people dislike because it can, definitely turn the tide of the game. You can also look at, this doing the same thing. Because let's say, I'm going in for a score and I'm playing my speed kills or sharpen focus or anything like that, and then you say, all right, I'm gonna false start you. Right. And then false start essentially would replay the down from that point, and anything prior to that particular scrum or chain link or whatever you want to call it on the stack gets nullified. So if you're playing, let's say you have a 3 or 4 card stack, you play outperform, your opponent plays outperform, you not this Sunday, and then they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna false start. At that point, the false start replays it down. Everything else is gone. There's nothing that goes through. And then it's just, you lose like all those particular cards, like almost a super, not this Sunday, because it cancels everything throughout that middle. Another short pass here. Looks like we've got 4th down. He takes his last time out. This is it. This is the last thing we'll see. I've got 4 cards, so I draw 5th, which is out of position. Can stop the additional yardage gain. However, it looks like at this point, Um, I'll go for short pass here. I believe, if I remember correctly, he's going to get the medium pass and be able to get in. And so it gets in for 14, makes it 14-16. Excellent, excellent game. I know there was a lot of ranting on my end, so I definitely do apologize. I know it was one of those things where, um, somebody just goes off for about an hour of, just complaining about the way, um, these busted cards are and things like that. But I can guarantee you that, you know, um, in my next video, I'll definitely put up some interesting, like, what are these things that should actually be in that list, and have them be explained, why they're super super oppressive, and then also, kind of that same instance of like what could counter them, just to kind of give you guys idea of like what could counter them, and then the benefits and um, downsides to everything. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and of course the two separate halves in chunks. And I'm gonna try and see about maybe doing that. Let me know if you guys actually like that instead of having like a full hour game. This game was an hour and a half, or hour and 6 minutes, cut into two pieces. And maybe I'll do first half, second half from now on, being just going through and re-editing everything and kind of going from that route. But just let me know in the comments if you guys think that that's a better idea or whatnot, and let me know your ideas as far as these particular things we talked about. Again, especially in the next video, I'm definitely going to go over a lot of that, and just kind of see, some input thoughts on the community, and just kind of go from there as far as what this looks like moving forward. And until next time, guys, I appreciate that. Go ahead and stop the share and go ahead and stop recording. You guys have a great day. Have a happy holidays. We'll talk to you guys later.